Thank you. I think that was amazing, and the best thing about this is you don't have to pay the consultants for the amount of information they're giving you. So could we clap for her again? We're saving that. I'll borrow some of that. And I think it'd be great if Namibia actually had a policy on energy audits, which Kenya has now. So buildings are forced to audit every 3 years, giving a lot of work to the consultants. So our next speaker is our host. He's been looking after us for the last 2 days, and I think he's been doing a great job. Frederick Muketi is the Gbcna chairperson, and he's actually helped to pull us together and have these sessions together, call all these people from international corners. He has a BSc in mechanical engineering, MBA, that was between 1980 and 2009. I'm not sure if I was born then. He has 18 years in manufacturing in Kenya, cement manufacturing, 9 years contracting and consultancy, still in Kenya, then 8 years Ministry of Works and Transport, chief engineer in Namibia. That's a lot of time in Namibia. I think we'll borrow him back. He's now the chairperson, Engineering Professions Association vice president as well, alternate member of the Engineering Council of Namibia, associate member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, the Kenyan chapter, and is a registered professional engineer in Kenya and Namibia. So we'll allow Mr. Muketi to talk to us about successful stories, green building initiatives preceding 2015, preceding this year. So Mr. Muketi?
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, Kenya Green Building Society. I would like us to talk about the green building initiatives that are initiating 2015. People think this is a year that the world is really turning where they did not expect. A lot of things have changed in terms of greening the atmosphere. Policies from big countries like USA, China, coming to terms that we need to do something. If we look at the projected world energy generation mix as of 2008 and compared to 2035, coal was supposed to have about 41%. It didn't really have that was measured. The projected was 32%. But as of 2015, actually it is 31% already. So it's moving faster than we expect. Gas was 21.3 and it should be 22%. Hydro will remain almost about the same amount in terms of percentages. Nuclear was expected to shoot up, but nuclear has gone down in the last 4 years. And then oil is supposed to come down drastically. And you can see instead oil shot up because of advanced modes of extraction. Then biomass is supposed to shoot up. Wind, now these are all renewables. Wind, geothermal, and solar. Solar is expected to, from 0.1% to 0.3% by the year 2035. But as of now, it is much higher than what it was projected. That is the world generation, energy generation mix in terms of terawatt hours. China being highest, followed by North America. The rest of the world, Africa is lowest down there. Then Japan is more than Africa's consumption. And most of it comes, the consumption is from USA. The world consumption in million tons of oil equivalent, that's a 25-year graph. This is how it's showing. That the consumption mix in 2013, coal is actually, as I've said, 30.1%. and renewables are 2.7% compared to 0.9% in 2003. Yeah, and then hydroelectricity 6.7%. Nuclear energy has gone to 4.4%, as I told you. Natural gas is 23.7%, and oil has gone unexpectedly back higher because of easy extraction methods. And in the process, that's why it's possible to use petrol at a lower price in most of the countries. Yeah, so while primary energy consumption grew by a below average 2.3% in 2013, a third consecutive below average increase. Growth was below average in all regions except North America. All fuels except oil, nuclear, and renewables grew at below average rates. Oil remains the world's dominant fuel, but has lost market share for 14 years in a row. Hydroelectric and other renewables in power generation both reached record shares of global primary energy consumption, 6.7% and 2.2% respectively. The Asia-Pacific region once again accounted for the largest increment to global primary energy consumption. And you can see that in their development, everything in that Asia-Pacific is on a much higher rise than the rest of the world. So here, I already said about these figures. You can see that once I put in red, that's 2013, that's the latest, that's the latest that is available, is that all those renewables down there, they were projected. You can see that renewables have gone to 2.7%. And they were projected in 5 years ago, well, is that 5? No, 7 years ago, they were projected to be 0.3% by 2035. Today, they're 2.7%. Yeah, that is the renewables. And obviously, it's adding 1.3, 1.1, 0.3, and 0.1. It's not much increase, you could say, but it's projected to increase much higher. The solar among those ones is increasing at an alarming rate as well as wind. The findings in Australia in 2012, Green Star certified buildings produce 62% fewer greenhouse gas emissions and use 66% less electricity than average Australian buildings. Then Green Star buildings use 51% less potable water than average buildings. Green Star has built certified buildings recycle 96% of their construction demolition waste, compared with the average recycling rate of new construction projects of 58%. The 9 Green Star categories we have already gone through. I don't have to waste much of your time. China's ICNO, outfitting buildings to save energy. There's outfitting in China because that's another area where one of the countries that really experiences cold winter. That's why the panels survive. And so a lot of work is being done to improve the present houses because now there's money, there's good cash flow in China. Things are working very fast there. Here is a lady who was saying before the temperature in that room was 12 degrees Celsius, but after the outfitting, improving the wall materials, it's now 18 degrees Celsius just by reconstructing the walls, 6 degrees improvement. So, I mean, the room can be a bit cool. My friend says 16 degrees is a comfortable temperature, but 18 is still bad for most of us from the equator. But I believe for the Chinese, that's an improvement, and with a bit of wearing, it should be comfortable. She runs a small Chinese medicine shop with her husband out of their front room, so they're able to live a bit more comfortable. These are some of the. This is how the buildings look in winter in China. In some of the areas, they're covered in ice, so it's really. So you really need proper thermal support for you to live in those buildings as well. The challenge to keep warm. China's Beijing's night traffic and the smokestacks smoldering over Pearl River Delta may be the most iconic images of China's environmental woes. Yeah. But these days, policymakers are increasingly turning their attention to the buildings of China's industrial northeast as well. This is the country's frigid rust belt, where cold fronts roll in directly from Siberia's frozen tundra to the north. And residents need to be heated 6 months out of the year. Heated 6 months of the year. After all, the developed world, fully 40% of carbon dioxide emissions come from heating, cooling, and powering buildings. Already in China, nearly 30% of the country's energy is absorbed by its building sector, a figure that has tripled within 3 decades and growing. Because as the Chinese have now a good cash flow, they will also live better, and in order to live better, we are all human beings. There are certain temperatures, we all just need them. I want to talk about Air Namibia links to sustainability. I already talked in the morning that we have Air Namibia has at least 2 jets which normally travel between Windhoek and Frankfurt. They are lighter. They take a lighter load. They pay less at the airports because of the lighter load, and they are also faster. And it's not only Air Namibia. What we're saying is that Namibia is part of the globe, and that's a global trend. We've seen it with all the other airlines. Those are just figures that show the savings that were expected to come from that investment. They sold all their old aircraft and took these ones on lease. You might ask, why are they in debt? Yeah, when you take debts, you also get in debt. You may not easily make your profits, but fuel efficiency is the main thing here. And then examples of sustainability, sustain plus ability. A house that not only recycles its own waste, but is waste positive and borrows the effluent or wastewater of its neighborhood and recycles it for reuse, giving it a new purpose, like for use in flushing toilets. It's a building that cannibalizes waste into energy and sustains its housekeepers. A house that is fully powered by green technology like solar energy, and even converts this energy generated from one house to supply to neighboring houses at a price. In terms of energy, it does not only rely on the unreliable grid. It's not an energy beggar, but a sustainer and enabler in terms of energy needs of the occupiers. Yeah, those were just others that we talked about. At the end of the day, it's the mathematics. The profit or positive impact can be a waste positive building or a waste neutral building extracts more or equal waste than it produces. A financially positive building or financially neutral building leaves us more or equal in money in our pockets than it demands. So an affordable house, we need affordable houses, and we need new technologies. I brought this man on the left to give a presentation last year from Kenya. The equivalent of, this year I brought in Kavango building, Kavango brick builder. Kavango, what do you say?
Kavango block brick.
Yeah?
Kavango block brick.
Kavango block brick. This is the equivalent. This is another entrepreneur. He's a quantity surveyor. He's brought in together architects, engineers, and himself a quantity surveyor. They design and also produce the correct materials right at the point which the building is made. And some of the building, this is the stabilized soil blocks press close up. So they got this from somewhere and they made their own. The entrepreneurs in Africa are made. So once you, and it's the only way to go, because the Japanese did it and they've gone very far, and the Chinese are doing it. So Africa, we just have to do this. Get one, copy, take, it's not a sin to copy in China, it's a sin to copy in the West. You are a hero if you are copying in China, but you are a villain if you copy in the West. These are the buildings they've produced. Yeah, it is design, construct, commission. Yeah, we've done those water tanks. We've talked about those. Yeah, this site, if you told anybody 10 years ago it would be in window, nobody would say yes. We have this, and this is what is happening in other African cities, and I hope we can have policy that we will stop this. These are the poor of the poor who are living on the outskirts of window, who have to reach places of work, either on foot or once in a while, maybe once or twice in a taxi. I saw the sun cycles, Namibia, maybe we'll have a solution. But we definitely we need a solution for our cities in Africa. We have to stop this. These were 7 anomalies that David Nahinga from Kenya suggested. And it's all the same, all presentations we got from African GBCs, the problems are the same. The construction industry is in a state of arrest by the supply side of materials forming component parts of buildings. The design team is currently held hostage to extensive use of concrete design, which is a major pollutant of the environment by over 3.3 times if compared with the aviation industry. That's why if I see civil engineers also learning, they think green building, many of them think green building is not for civil engineers. It's so important because the cost of materials on a building is what makes the difference on the buildings. If we can improve on how to lower that, yes, then property developers are not helping the situation, sandwiched between the design team and the construction team. However, they are playing a major role by unlocking idle land and bringing more players to participate in future formation and profiteer at our lack of affordable, sustainable solutions. Yeah, these are banks, landowners, marketing gurus, and the like. Look at cement, the footprints. I've been in manufacturing cement for 18 years, so I know how much pollution in terms of how, if I produce 1 ton of clinker, how much pollution I push into the atmosphere. So look, people are worried about improving the planes and all, but if you compare cement and aviation, now the one down there is aviation, and the one in red is the one for cement. That is billion tons of carbon equivalent. That is from 1990 to the year 2007 when these statistics were taken. That over 3.3 times of cement, if you combine aviation and these other polluters, you can see how pollution by cement, how it contributes to CO2 emissions in the world. And people rarely talk against it in the normal manner or in the normal press, in the normal media. And the importers of prefabricated houses from China are postponing the promise of work. Whereas a prefabricated house from China would cost as low as $100 per square meter. The cost advantage tends to disappear between the port of loading, the prefab, and the market. But we understand that they have to be in business and maintain shareholder value. Local manufacturers of prefabricated housing are in the footsteps of their counterparts, maintaining shareholder value and high profits. I think some scholars regard as Fred mentioned, dump idea. A house that costs 2.5 million Kenya shillings, or 250,000 rand, to build in Kenya will probably cost 600,000 Kenya shillings to put up in South Africa. That is a research by Mr. Alfred Omenya, as reported in Business Day. Most Kenyans are simply tired of paying rent. This rules out the problem of housing as being for only those able to go to the suicide route. also known as mortgages. The landlords are too postponing the promise. The Kenya Integrated Housing Budget Survey of 2005 and 6 showed that only 4.2% of Kenyans households are able to borrow money to buy or build a house. There's something we are doing wrong. Okay, this green energy in Namibia, this is a cement factory that was built up in North Namibia, and it's one of the most energy efficient factories in the whole of Africa. I don't know if there's another that has come better than that, but technology is changing and cement manufacturers are being put to the test. They have to keep improving. That's the Oromo cement. They're using biomass from Invenda bush for fuel. The kilns, quarries can be planted trees to replace the barrenness that results after operations, as in the case of Bamburi Nature Trail, where I used to work. When scrap biomass crushed and used in kiln firing, e.g. rice, coconut, cashew nut, and coffee husks, as well as used tires, is used to lessen the burden on municipalities for dump sites. These are practices I saw about 25 years ago in UK and Germany and USA. We're not reinventing the wheel. The solar energy initiatives, Namibia solar energy potential is among the world's best. At an annual solar radiation average exceeding 6 kilowatt-hour per meter square per day, this resource is most significant, and it is and will remain free to use. Presently, solar energy for power generation remains mostly untapped, except for the photovoltaic electricity and water pumping installations throughout the country, but could provide significant quantities of green energy for the long-term sustainable development of the country. Solar water heating in public buildings. The 2007 Cabinet Directive making solar water heaters mandatory in government buildings is an example of how targeted policies can lead to tangible change. Ministry of Environment and Tourism building on photovoltaic cells. The Ministry of Mines and Energy new regional office building in Erongo region, for which our architect is here, and the ministers were checking yesterday, and they seem to be happy, but it's not been rated. Then support for the initiation of the Green Building Council of Namibia, that is Namibia Energy Institute and the Ministry of Mines and Energy, as well as the support of UNDP of Global Energy Facility. That's how the Green Building Council of Namibia was initiated. The generation potential of solar PVs in Namibia is not limited to the availability of the resource or space requirements, rather matching the supply from such power plants to the current demand and accommodating their supply. Regularities in the Namibian grid are key issues. Under prevailing conditions, a generation output of some 0.08 terawatts per annum per 50 megawatt of installed capacity is possible. Large-scale photovoltaic power generation remains expensive and requires the storage capabilities if output power is to be available continuously. The solar impulse flight from San Francisco to Phoenix, this was at 40 knots, or 75 kilometers per hour. That was 2 years ago. There's another flight going on. But every project requires corporate sponsors. That's what I'm saying. That year's mission was possible thanks to the support of solar impulse partners, Solvay, Schindler, Bayer Material Science, Swiss Recorporate Solutions, SunPower, and the Swiss Confederation. The project's ultimate goal is to fly around the world, scheduled for, which is now on, and the plane is actually resting in Nanjing. It reached 2 days ago there was a storm. There was also the pilot was a bit sick. We went back to Switzerland to recuperate. He came back, and next week they will take the longest flight to Hawaii for 5 days, just in the air, using solar, and no fuel. Yeah, and the project's ultimate, that was it. And the solar impact planned, the first one was from San Francisco in the early morning hours Friday. Now this, you'll be talking about the latest, that was the Across America mission at a glance. 3rd to 4th May, the first leg, San Francisco Moffett Airfield to Phoenix, Sky Harbor. And then 22nd up to 6th of July, the 5th and last leg, Washington. So from San Francisco up to Washington. That was 2 months. The one around the world is going to take us 5 months. But the idea is that to show we can, yes we can. And science has already been put in. That was the route from the west to the east of North America. This is Solar Impulse 2. That started on 9th of March. And this is Solar Impulse 2 is designed out of carbon fiber. Solar Impulse 2 has wings that are larger than a Boeing 747, yet weighs about the same as a 4x4 motor vehicle. It's actually 3.2 tons. Yeah, most of what you call here bakis, but it's quite a design. Andre Bosch, right? I'm sure the German can pronounce for me better. Chief Executive Officer of Solar Impulse remains optimistic that the energy-efficient flying mobile Solar Impulse 2 must accomplish what no other plane in the history of aviation has achieved: flying without fuel for 5 consecutive days and nights, with only one pilot in the unpressurized cockpit. That is the route. We'll start from Abu Dhabi all the way. It's now at position 6 in Nanjing, and then it will take off to Hawaii and come back to Abu Dhabi. Now, other initiatives, it is very strong in America now, but when it was first introduced, waterless rhinos, the plumbers were opposing the business because plumbers always wanted to be called into the business. Yeah, but a waterless rhino will actually use no water. The traditional toilet, I think Catherine already talked about those differences. There's also low floor rhino. Most of you are already putting them in your designs. But these are waterless rhino. The first guy who actually introduced the waterless rhino in the US said, why do we use water to flash water? Yeah, those are passive solar designs which the architects are involved in, as well as ventilation engineers. Kenya Green Bamburi to switch to biomass energy. These are this man maker. You see, there's something called you pollute and try to cover up for your pollution. That's what they talk about carbon credit, that you create something that will eat up your pollution, the CO2 and all. So when you go in the coast of Mombasa, you visit this nature trail, Bamburi Nature Trail. It's a beautiful thing. It's cool in a very hot and humid equatorial. This was a disused quarry, which would have looked like a desert, but they replanted. Energy saving initiatives, bankable projects. There are many companies in Kenya trying to take advantage of the carbon credits from the countries that are already polluting. They get the credit by supporting these projects. There's this one that I want to talk about. Okay, the French are also doing that. The Japanese are doing it. I'm sure Germany and other countries are doing it. There's carbon credit market. Electricity producer, Kenya Generating Company, and Miashua Company, among Kenyan farms to benefit from the nascent carbon credit market that's driven by Western Asian companies that need to offset their excess carbon emissions. So what Momiasi has done is that they are able to generate electricity from the biomass that waste from sugar, which they would have thrown it as rubbish. I'll show you how it pollutes the place. There are other companies like Unilever, James Finlay, and Osegan Development Company. These are Osegan Development, these are flower companies. Kenya is one of the biggest exporters of flowers to Europe. They're among the 7 farms licensed by the Energy Regulation Commission to generate electricity from green sources for their own consumption, saving the millions in electricity bills. Other farms are generating more electricity than they can consume and are selling the excess capacity of electricity distributor of Kenya Power Lighting. Mumia Sugar, for instance, received 35 million US dollars, or 3 billion Kenya shillings, soft loan from OPACO in 2008 to expand its electricity generation capacity. They sell the excess to the grid. They actually produce 35 and they don't want, they only need about 9. This is how the bagasse that was coming from the sugar. See what manufacturers do worldwide. And this one is very close to my village, less than 10 kilometers from my village. There's a river, Zoya, which is potable with potable water. And this was going into that mass. It was being hidden behind the sugarcane plantations. But now it has worked. This is how the dam manager is supervising the dam. Yeah. Heaps of dam to bagasse. Bagasse dam by trucks at Mesh in Western Cape. Yeah. So minimize waste by reuse. In the 6 months of December 2011, Mias earns 161 million or 16 million rand from electricity sales to KPLC and carbon credit sales to Japan Carbon Finance. Buoyed by the success of the cogeneration plant that uses bagasse, a byproduct of sugarcane, Mumias is investing more than 400 million Kenya shillings or 40 million rand in new green projects, including ethanol from molasses. They're already producing that, and water bottling plant from used steam that are expected to be fed from byproducts of these sugar manufacturing processes. So the overall emission reduction over those years is 1.3 million tons of CO2 equivalent over the period of 10 years. Nothing goes to waste now. Electricity from bagasse, ethanol from the molasses, and potable water from the used steam. It's 2015, the year the Pope Francis defeats climate change. He promised to talk to the 1.2 billion Catholics how to interact with nature. So even religious people know that have a duty to make this world a better planet. So the message from the Pope is very important, even for beyond the 1.2 billion Catholics. I'm about to finish. I know the secretary she cannot even sit. Clean energy revolution is ahead of schedule. You can look at that graph. Yeah, the graph is like projected versus what is happening, because the world can be changed through politics. What's Obama talking to the Chinese? Let's reduce energy, and they believe in, because this is a big country that is committed itself to change. Yeah, Republicans can fight, but because it's politics. But there's a change. There's a difference. So the rate of change is much higher than anticipated, and we do not want to be left out. So solar thermal driven cooling air-con systems, usually solar thermal collectors connected to thermal, there's so much you can do. So the way, take a holistic approach. Go green building using the Green Star rating that takes care of all the 9 or 10 initiatives and get rated. I just want to add something else. Last one, Madam Chair. So Africa is getting serious about solar energy. South Africa recently launched the largest solar plant for the continent. Soon the country will start constructing an even larger solar farm also designed to store energy, and other African nations too are now following interest in constructing solar plants. 2015 might be the year of solar energy in Africa. More than 325,000 solar panels spanning an area as big as 205 football fields in the semi-desert near the South African diamond mining center of Kimberley. This symbolizes the possible future for alternative fuel energies in Africa. This recently launched 96 megawatt Jasper solar power project is the biggest solar power plant in the continent at this moment in time. Its construction cost euro 235 million and will produce 180,000 megawatt hours of renewable energy annually, enough to provide 80,000 households with electricity according to its own American company, Solar Sun. Just about to finish, I want to go to the other countries. The solar power plant was built in only 12 months and was installed last October, 2 months ahead of schedule. The solar power plants can be built relatively quickly. Then we're saying that the problem with solar plant power is that 12 hours, or maximum 12 hours, or in winter, 14 hours, you have the power, but then what happens thereafter? So now the latest growing fast technology is how to store that power. Companies are really competing on energy storage, like you saw the battery that was on the bike, and the gentleman talked about Tesla. Yeah, Tesla is Nissan among the motor companies. Yeah, very way ahead in what type of storage. Make the battery smaller and store power longer. So they allowed South Africa has allowed in 100 megawatt Redstone solar thermal plant, which will produce solar power using molten salt energy storage technology, where you can reuse even during the silent hours. And you can be sure that the plane that's going around the world is on that technology. This was 12 hours worth of solar energy, enough to deliver electricity to 200,000 homes during peak demand periods, even well after the sun has set. Then you are swing. Not many sister nations across the continent have followed the ambitions of South Africa yet, with the exception of Rwanda, Mauritania, and Morocco. Yeah. In a way, then Rwanda opened the biggest solar power factory in East Africa last year, and they built on the mountain. You see, South Africa, there's no place that you can just say that it's useless. On the desert, Namibia is more desert than South Africa. Rwanda is a very small country, but they put these panels on the mountain where nobody wants to settle. And Mauritania is already building its second solar power plant, and Morocco, determined to move forward with its ambitious plan to install 2,000 megawatts of solar power by 2010, is currently building its first 160 megawatt solar thermal power plant. Construction of the remaining 350 megawatts is aimed to start in 2015, following successful fundraising through international development banks, and that were concluded only recently. I'll go to the last one. Ghana wants to do the 6th largest solar farm in the world. The countries like Ivory Coast, Senegal, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Benin, Namibia, Uganda, and Kenya are currently preparing tenders to get international investors interested in starting the construction of solar plants. When we listen to the presentation by the Namibia Energy Institute director, he will tell us what is happening in Namibia. And for Ghana, they want to build. We talked of 325,000 panels in South Africa. Ghana want to do 630,000 solar panels. Yeah, and Egypt of late had problems. Mali had problems, and those problems are political problems bring down countries. But now they are in a rush. The next 50 megawatt project in Egypt will be held, and Mali may want to recover from where they went. I mean, where they are targeted to do, because they were coup d'etat and they were disturbed in 2012. I just wanted to say that 2015, that is not, Africa is not doing this alone, but I just wanted to show that we are doing something and we need to do it. Because in California, there are big solar power plants. Big. In India is targeting to do 6,000 megawatts. The only politics is on availability of land. 6,000 megawatts solar panels, a whole farm. Thank you for listening. We need to share.